What up, everybody? Walk and Talk 2026. I'm gonna have to do a quick one for this week because, as you can see, those four guys, the Julio killers, they all got sentenced to life in prison. It's official. The judge gave them life plus all the sentences for all the standby, all the people that got injured on the side. I say, y'all, for all the young peoples out there, that's like take their life as a life lesson. We're here for a journey. We're here on this experience. What's your life like? What's your life about? What you want to be about is up to you, y'all. And as you can see, choices you make is big. Because for these four guys, their life has stopped. Technically, they ain't free no more. You know what I mean? So yeah, man, we're gonna hold the vibe real quick on these life lessons, the cases. Walk and Talk, holding the vibe, 2026. I'm CLP. And if you're new to the channel, hit that subscription button. It helps me grow. Drop a comment if you vibe, y'all. Other than that, I will catch you after the intro. CLP. What up, everybody? I'm CLP, holding the vibe. Like, share, subscribe. Drop a comment if you're vibing. Listen to the sound. CLP. What up, everybody? I'm CLP, holding the vibe. You know, we out here walking and talking. Tap in at LGETV. But if you just want a podcast, just to sit down and hold the vibe, tap in at Conscious356 for the sit down podcast. But if you just want to hear the beats, you know, the vibration, the genres I'm putting out, tap in at CLP Got Beats. And if you want to buy and purchase, go to beatstars.com/CLP. You can see all the genres, all the vibes, but also different prices. You know what I mean? CLP.
I prepared just a little something. I worked pretty thoughtfully on it, so I just ask that you allow your discretion for me to.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Thank you.
As long as it's respectful.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Here we are, being sentenced for the murder of Charles Jones on the day he was killed 2 years later. Now, some may say this is just a coincidence, but I believe that nothing has been, is, or ever will be left up to chance, and that everything in this world is predestined. And there are many biblical promises of that belief holding true. Jeremiah 1:5 says, "Before you were formed in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart." Jeremiah 29:11 says, "I know the plans I have for you, plans for good and not for disaster." And Romans 8:28 says, "We know all things work together for good to those who love God and are called to his purpose." And there are many more just like them. God has full sovereignty over our lives. He chooses our times of peace and prosperity, our times of joy and laughter. But he also chooses our traumas and our tribulations, not to punish and tear us apart, but to strengthen our character and our faith. Everyone wonders how and why I ended up in a situation like this, despite growing up with a loving family, nice home, multiple opportunities, and promising potential. Some act as if is it impossible or unheard of for someone like me to find themselves in a situation like this. But in reality, it is much more common than we think. It has been happening long before today. There is a parable Jesus shared with the world called the prodigal son. A son who had the nice home, loving family, servants. He had his every need catered to. Yet he still chose to take his inheritance and venture off to a far country where he indulged in prodigal living. He soon ran out of money, and a famine had struck the land he was in. And while that would have been enough signs for most to turn back, his eyes still hadn't opened, and he still hadn't come to his senses. Hungry and desperate, he found a job on a farm feeding pigs. And during these times, pigs and what they were fed were deemed as the filthiest, most impure, lowest of the low, and worst of the worst. But he was so hungry and so blind that the food he fed the pigs looked appetizing. That's when he finally came to his senses. He realized that even the servants back home had enough food to spare, yet here he is dying of hunger amongst pigs. After this eye-opening experience, he decided to return home. He was ashamed and planned to go to his father to ask for forgiveness and to become one of his servants because he no longer felt worthy to be called his son. But when he returned, his father embraced him with love and compassion, dressed him in the finest clothes and jewels, and celebrated his son's return with a feast, exclaiming, "This son of mine was dead and has come back to life. He was lost and is now found." It is not uncommon for good young men who come from good families to get lost in this world. But discontentment often leads these good young men astray. When scholars and historians look back on our times, I believe they will label us as the age of discontentment. And those of us who come from privileged upbringings are actually disadvantaged to the fight against it. Because of the high expectations, any opportunities and options we grow up with, we don't know what struggle looks like, or how hard our parents had to work to provide these opportunities for us. We don't know what we have until it's gone. And it often happens after we go through our own eye-opening experience. Never in history has there been a time like now, where there is so much available and so easy to consume, but we still demand more. And it is clearly seen in my generation. Young men and women want to grow up faster, to try to keep up with the influencers that are idolized. And this is in part due to us being so susceptible. A study done by the National Institute of Mental Health provided evidence showing that the brain doesn't reach full maturity until 26 to 27 years old for men, about 8 or 9 years older than my time during the offense. But society knows this, and that's why laws set age requirements on certain activities, amenities, and substances as a way to protect adolescent adults. Yet those same laws don't extend to an adolescent adult when they are charged with crimes and allows them to be prosecuted to the fullest extent, regardless of their age. Your Honor, it is heartbreaking that an 18-year-old can't rent a car or a hotel or buy a home, but can be sentenced to death or life in prison without the possibility of parole. They can't purchase alcohol or tobacco, but can be sentenced to death or life in prison without the possibility of parole. They can't work certain jobs or even go on a cruise without a chaperone, but can be sentenced to death without life, or life without prison, in prison without possibility of parole. And I'm a prime example of these circumstances. At 18 years old, with no prior convictions, I was charged, indicted, and had to face the death penalty. My point is, society views anyone under the age of 21 as not being mentally mature enough to participate or partake in these activities, amenities, and substances, because certain substances listed can negatively impact or stunt the growth of a developing brain, while other activities and amenities have restrictions due to the lack of impulse and behavioral control or lack of situational awareness at times with teens. It is very simple to understand that our brains have not developed enough, that we live in a society where someone under the age of 21 can be sentenced to death or life in prison without parole. We leave no room for growth, rehabilitation, or redemption. We don't account for the fact that they weren't a fully developed adult and their judgment and decision-making abilities weren't developed either. I believe it is cruel for someone under the age of 21 to be sentenced to life without parole or death before they're even old enough to be fully emancipated or to fully comprehend what consequences their actions carry. I say all this because I want to see change. Change for those whose fates were sealed long before they were born. Change for the prodigal sons and daughters who ventured off too far in the world and got lost. Change for those who haven't reached full maturity or unlocked their full potential as adults. Change for the ones who never had the option to go around, over, or underneath, but straight through their obstacles. In spite of my current circumstances, I still trust in all those biblical promises. And I believe that I am exactly where God planned for me to be, a plan He created long before I was born. It is also my belief that this chapter of my life will propel me to a much greater purpose than what we see here today, because my journey has just begun.
What up, everybody? How all is doing? Hope all is well. And if not, hope you get back on track sooner than later. Sick and out your thing, you know what I mean? I say, for all the young peoples out there watching these things in these times, let their life be a lesson to y'all on the choices and decisions y'all make in this matrix, in this game of life. It's all about the choices you make. Look at Sean, the good kid, good family, at least good support system, they say. He's doing life. Down to Davey I. Murphy. These people's in jail doing their life bills right now, so he comes from a family, you know what I'm saying? And he's in that situation now. But you heard what they all said though. Especially Isaiah, you know, the one that was following, giving the updates and live with food that was at. He said it's not worth it. Talking to the peoples back in this city.
Fulio being a rapper from our city, it ain't worth it. Like, my mouth getting dry, sorry. Like, the dissing, the beefing, the shooting, like, for what? Like, for what? Like, when you sitting in your cell alone, cold, lonely as hell in that bed, everybody leave you. Like, nobody here for you. Like, the ones that's your ride or die, your girlfriends, whoever you love, the only person there for you is your mother. And maybe like one friend, maybe. But it ain't worth it though, bro. It ain't worth it. I was 21 years old facing the death penalty. I never ever, my only interactions with law enforcement was traffic tickets.
I'm CLP, holding the vibe. Like, share, hit that subscribe button. And if you're vibing, drop a comment. And I'm talking to everybody in the States and the world, all the youngins. Big goals. A lifestyle worth living. You can see it, because if you can see it, you can imagine it, you can be it. That's the reality we are in. Now, it's a matrix, so it's playing a mind game with all the different obstacles out there. You know, we got the hip-hop psyop going on. We got other issues in this situation with family relationships, feelings and vibrations and everything else that goes on, poverty-wise, surviving-wise. Don't you want to win? Don't you want to be big in life? Put yourself in a great position? Well, it's all about the choices they make, y'all. And you see, these four guys, they did what they did. As you can see, the hip-hop psyop won because these guys were sliders and riders. And even Sean, the GTA player, had himself caught up. If you want to win, you have to think about it. Think about things. The life you live, how you live. At the end of the day, is how you want to live. If you look at it that way, what you want. And it's also extend from understanding self, understanding who you are, your talents, all the gifts God gave you. Remember, everybody got a talent. And what they say, what I learned and what I'm saying, your talent is supposed to get you the bag. You can live off the talent. That's what it's all about. The journey, the experience. Don't get caught up in the psyop. Don't get caught up in the hip-hop psyop and other situations that's set to get you trapped, locked up for life, get you killed.
I don't even have or know the right words to say that can rectify the intense severity of how I am situated currently, corresponding to my sentencing right now. I don't think anyone with a reasonable mind frame could adjust their conscience to the reality of something this absurd, especially being this young. This is harder than what I intended, I'm gonna be honest. I feel like our appearances here were more political based than solely on our 6th and 14th Amendment, which guarantees our right to a fair trial with an impartial jury for each defendant. Being that, I'm not gonna say it. I wanted to say something to you directly.
No, that's fine, and you're more than welcome to disagree with any way I may have ruled in the case. You just can't
Litigate the facts.